Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order City Council meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremonies, which consists of our national anthem, followed by a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members who have given their lives for our country. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Smith, if you'd take roll call, please.
Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Present.
Councilmember Karafotis. Here. Councilmember Squires.
Here.
Councilmember Earl. Here. Councilmember Witt. Here. Councilmember Lynch.
Here.
You have a quorum of 7.
Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve the agenda for Monday, March 18th, 2024 as presented.
Support.
Support for Councilmember Lynch. Further discussion from the public? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have no state or county. We'll go right down to item 11, consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A1 through 3, including 3A as well as 4, as presented.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Squires. Comment from table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Action items. Item number 1, Parks Bond Proposal. City Manager, Mr. Doherty.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Before discussing the request for the Parks Bond, I want everyone to understand that clearly tonight's council vote this evening is not to force the Parks Bond on anybody, but tonight's vote is simply to put a referendum on the ballot for August to allow voters to decide if they'd like to fund the reconstruction of our city parks. Before detailing the Parks Bond, I'd like to just take a few minutes to put the Parks Bond request in context of everything else that's going on in the city. I'm often reminded of the council and staff working together for the last number of years. We've been quite busy, and people wonder where the money's going to come from to do these other projects we've been doing, as well as the Parks Bond itself. So first, I just want to mention about the fire station construction and expansion. It continues, whereby the firefighters and paramedics workplace is being expanded and upgraded for the first time since the 1980s. Instead of sleeping in one room, the staff will now have their own rooms to sleep in and rest, as well as their own toilet and shower areas instead of the gang showers that they currently have. The expanded and upgraded kitchen will be a welcome sight, as well as the enlargement of the fire bay and the refurbishment of the training room, fitness area, and offices. The money to make these great changes and make the fire station a place that will attract new employees in the future is being funded by 2 grants from the state of Michigan. This past year, the police station received a new roof and a new HVAC system. The front sergeant's desk area was already renovated, and presently the gun range and the prison cells are additionally being upgraded. Very little has been done to the police station since it was built about 30 years ago, but with the council's approval, the much-needed upgrades are now taking place. Like the fire station's reconstruction, which is grant funded, the police station is being reconstructed with money we received from a federal grant. Once again, grant money is being used to reconstruct both of these facilities. What has been talked about with excitement is the investment into the Radcliffe Community Center. While we will be having an open house soon, and I'll be giving more detailed presentation at that time, the following pictures will give everyone a really quick look at what some of the few rooms are looking at this point and a sense of what residents of all ages have to look forward to. The card room is nearly completed and will open soon. This room is expected to host every type of card game for fun, with seniors in the morning, teens in the afternoon, and adults in the evening. To keep the youth between the ages of 8 and 15 off the streets and out of trouble, the teen tech rooms are going to be an awesome hangout, which will be controlled and be a safe place for kids to have fun. The design of the space has a cool space-like theme with an arcade area called Spaceport. Nearing completion with only the installation of the gaming computers remaining, the esports room will house teams from our middle school and high school students, as well as adult teams representing Garden City and national gaming tournaments. The esports room is expected to attract revenue annually for the city. Part of Teen Tech is a theater which can house up to 20 people. This room could also be used for after-school activities, meetings of our esports teams, and certainly for parents' night out events. And then we have the Imagination Station as a room that will fuse the words education and entertainment into the word edutainment, a place where kids under 10 can make believe they're police officers, firemen, grocery clerks, construction workers, restaurant workers, and so on. More info about this will be coming soon, but it's going to be a great attraction for people all over Southeast Michigan and a great revenue generator for the city. Of course, the biggest project at Radcliffe will be the addition of the gymnasium and new entrance. Staff are currently meeting with the architects to bring the plan to the City Council soon. All the money at the Radcliffe at this point is a combination of federal and county grant funding. In fact, the $6.1 million we have received this past year must be used at the Radcliffe Community Center, or we must give it back. I understand some people have said that we should use the money elsewhere in the city. That would be incorrect. The grant money is for Radcliffe and must be used at Radcliffe, or we don't get the money itself. Another large issue that council and staff have been working on is the reconstruction of our city streets. Thanks to our voters for passing the second round of funding, this spring starts another $15 million in new roads over the next 5 years. As you can see on the screen, the picture on the left is what we said we would do, and the picture on the right is what we actually did over the past 5 years, and that's over-delivering again. Another investment the council has made into our city is the replacement of vehicles well past their lifespan. The repair of an old vehicle ends up costing more than a new vehicle, and it leaves the city with an unnecessary liability. All the public works fleet of 25-year-old trucks has been replaced, and we've also replaced 2 or 3 police cars every year, and we bought two new ambulances over the last 6 years, and the $1 million 75-foot ladder truck for the fire department this past year. Another item of note is that our multi-year union contracts have been agreed to and signed. The process of rewriting the contracts and having smooth negotiations is invaluable. As to showing the teamwork of the administration and the staff, again, all approved by the council. Before moving right into the parks discussion, I wanted to give just a quick overview of what we have done before asking for more. For the few residents that insist the city doesn't care about getting grant money and would rather just charge the residents for everything, I want to remind everyone that the reconstruction of the fire station, the police station, and the Radcliffe Center is all being done with county, state, and federal grant money. So let me say that again now. The renovation of the city-owned facilities is being done with outside money. While some of the new vehicles were from the general fund, the money for the replacement of many of the vehicles derives from the water and sewer funds, forfeiture funds, road funds, and grants themselves, including that fire truck. Most, but not all, the road construction is being done with taxes, but it is a voted millage by the residents. If the vote didn't pass, we wouldn't be working on roads as we are today. In fact, the road bond is very similar to the parks bond I'm bringing to you this evening, because if you want a lot done very quickly, one way to do it is actually through the parks bond. So I mention all this as a preamble to the parks bond to say, after all we've done and what we are doing right now in the city, Garden City is in a solid financial place, without a doubt. Unlike some who have misinformed others each day to say the city's in financial trouble and needs a change of direction from what we're doing, I'm not quite sure what city they live in. Garden City residents should be proud to see what is happening on behalf of their council and staff working together. A change of direction from what we're doing sounds like a lot of people just want us to stop doing anything. But among everything else I described already and the great progress the city has made over the last 5 years upgrading our facilities, as well as adding new technology to help the city run smarter, a parks bond is the next natural step to the redevelopment of Garden City. The area which we haven't been able to acquire the funding for, although we have asked our legislators, and we're still working on that, is our entire park system. While we do have a new playground being installed in City Park this summer, with half of it actually being grant money, and thanks to the GCYA for their periodic investments into our ball fields, our parks really haven't seen a true upgrade since the 1970s and the 80s. Like the roads bond, after about 45 years, it's time for the voters to consider an investment into the park system. As a side note, as I mentioned in the installation of new playgrounds during the rest of this presentation, I'm referring to modern playgrounds with different activities, not your traditional stair and slide playgrounds. On the screen now is the list of city's current parks and facilities. As I'm about to explain, each of these parks would receive an upgrade. So this is Muller Park as it looks today. Our youth baseball, softball fields are probably the best example of a place which needs a tremendous makeover. As you see on the screen, the current layout in which the fields face each other is dangerous, especially when you realize where the red arrows exist is where people walk while games are taking place. The picture you're seeing now is what the facility would look like after an upgrade. The fields would be turned away from each other, and the white lines are sidewalks for proper walking. All the fences and lights will be replaced. Red clay will be used on the fields instead of the slag that is currently used. Very exciting is a 100-foot field in the middle. This field is actually designed for t-ball players so that they can have a field that actually fits their size. The change to Muller Field will be tremendous, but we will be using that same treatment at City Park. Concrete poles instead of wood poles in City Park, new fencing, new dugouts, and new sidewalks. When I mentioned about fencing, on the screen you can see what our fields currently have compared to what would be installed. The look and feel of our ball field complexes will be very inviting, and parks our city can really be proud to show off. Although Muller Park is the only detailed plan laid out, for the other parks we have assembled some potential projects. City Park would receive a new ball field fencing, lights, walkways with shade. A new 2-story concession restroom facility in the middle would be built among the fields. Other park ideas include the reconstruction of the pavilions, movement of roadways for safety, and the installation of a dog park. The interior of the ice rink would receive a makeover, including the construction of 3 new locker rooms. This would enable the ice rink to host many more tournaments and again generate more revenue for the city. Manor Park is a location that needs to have a restroom installed. Any park that attracts an activity beyond the local neighborhood, just showing up to go onto a small playground, should have a restroom. A new playground and trees for more shade would also be included in the parks bond looking at Manor Park. Rotary Park would also receive a new playground, new fencing, sidewalks in the park, and more trees for shade, as well as each of the soccer fields would be resurfaced and cleaned up to be more level and for the future. Kiwanis Park would receive a full makeover of a new playground and fencing, new basketball court, new parking lot, and possibly a walking trail and tennis pickleball courts. I understand there were tennis courts at one point back in the day, but no longer. Florence Park upgrades would include a new playground with sidewalks, a walking trail, new fencing, and trees for shade. Arcola Park also would receive a new playground with sidewalks, new fencing, and better street parking. Helen Park, as you can see on the screen there, due to a county grant, has gotten a little bit of attention. That's a new sidewalk that was installed over the past year that you don't see in the other parks. Easier to move around if you have a stroller or even youth on bikes. It could still need a new playground and some new fencing for Helen Park. So Radcliffe, Depending on the cost to either repair or replace the full roof at the Radcliffe Center, it could be included into the parks bond. Although money is available in our grants to repair the roof, a full roof replacement may be more costly than the grants can handle. So we are looking at that possibly as part of the parks bond. So the question is how much it's going to cost. The request for the voters would be $9 million. That's 9 million, not 9 mils, paid over a period of 8 years. This means the average home would pay $99 per year for about 8 years, or more or less than $99, depending on what your home is taxed at. And remember, it's not what your house is worth today, it's what you're being taxed at today. To put the $9 million in perspective, Westland just spent $3 million on that playground on Ford Road using grant money. So we're asking to renovate our parks for $9 million. $3 million for one playground in Westland, $9 million for our whole park system. There is no question that $800 over 8 years is a lot of money, but I always look at it this way. If you don't ever plan on moving, then a new park system will increase your quality of life for the community for decades. But if you're considering one day moving 5, 10 years from now, the question is, will you be able to increase your house price by $1,000 to get that money back? And I would say that with all the other great changes in the city that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, including new roads throughout the city, beautiful parks and facilities will increase your sale price to get that money back very easily. It's well understood that cities who invest in themselves see higher property values than cities who neglect their facilities. So the road bond is a perfect example of what the park bond can do. In the past, the road bond, without the road bond, the city could repair one road a year, and that went on for many years. In 2018, we passed the road bond. We're able to work on 10 roads at a time. So although we're getting a new playground in City Park, and other parks have been touched a little bit over the decades, now is the opportunity where we can invest into all the parks at one time and change the quality of life for our residents. So before closing, I'd like to make 2 quick points. The parks bond actually falls in line with the request from the council as we were talking about projects at our goal-setting workshop of investing into our quality of life in our park system. And secondly, the council-appointed Garden City Recreation Commission voted unanimously to ask the council this evening to move forward with the support for the August election. So the Recreation Commission has been limited for years, being able to truly really develop our Garden City parks. If the parks bond passes in August, they'll have the opportunity to really create a great park system for our city. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this very short presentation, the council vote this evening is not to force a parks bond onto the residents and increase their taxes. Tonight's vote is simply to put the referendum on the ballot for the election this August to allow the voters of the city to decide if they agree to the full reconstruction of the city parks. To vote tonight only ask the residents what they would like us to do. Staff, as well as the Recreation Commission, supports the position that we can allow the voters to make the decision if they want to invest or not. If the vote fails in August, the city will continue to do something in one park a little bit each year. If the vote passes in August, less than a year afterward, park construction will be happening across the entire city. So at this moment, we don't have the full details on every project, exactly what's going to happen. We do know that $9 million at $99 could make a significant impact across the board. So that's something over the spring, if the council moves forward and we can get the referendum moved to the state in the next couple of weeks. The state has to approve it to bring it back to us. If we can do that, then the Parks Recreation Commission and the citizens will have a number of meetings throughout the spring of really detailing exactly what this final package is going to look like. So it's not trust us, we're going to do something. By the time it comes to vote, it should be really well flushed out with the help of the Recreation Commission of where we want to go with these projects. And things that I didn't mention also with splash pad, some other items. And the reason that wasn't put in there specifically is there's not one specific park right now we've talked about other than possibly a downtown park, which is not in here because that may be a relationship with the DDA and the city to try to do something downtown, which I believe would be a great attraction, having some kind of splash pad to bring people downtown to our stores and restaurants there. But again, that opens up a broad horizon of opportunities this spring for the Recreation Commission to say there's a certain park they'd like to do a splash pad or not. That could be included also. So this is not the final be-all. It's just to ask the council to move forward with a vote. So before you this evening is the request to allow the parks bond to be placed on the August 2024 election ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this?
Mayor,
Councilmember Earl.
I move to approve a resolution to include a $9 million Parks Improvement Bond Proposal onto the August 6, 2024 election to be considered by the city voters.
Support by Councilmember Lynch. Discussion from the table.
Mayor?
Councilmember Earl.
The one over the last 6 or 7 years, one of the biggest things that I've gotten as I've been on city council is, when are we going to address Moeller? When are we going to address Rotary? When are we going to address City Park? As someone who's coached out there, someone who's been involved in this, I've witnessed sparks coming off of light poles when they turn on. And I don't want to forget, the soccer club also, I believe, has done a lot of work up at Rotary. So the local associations, Garden City Soccer, GCY, have done a lot. They've put a lot of money into it, but I think it's time for us to take it to the voters, and I support it because the voters get to make the decision.
Thank you. Further comments?
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
I was actually the one that brought up about our quality of life in Garden City and how important it is to improve our park, so obviously I'm for that. I'm also about our residents making the choice. What I'm not about is including Radcliffe on this bond. We've said nothing but several times in the last year that we are not going to have our taxpayers pay for Radcliffe. We have $6 million there in grant money. There's no reason that we can't use part of that money to pay for Radcliffe. It shouldn't be on this bond. So I would gladly support a parks bond, but not including that. I mean, maybe it could be less money than the $9 million if we don't do that, but there has to be a way that that money can be used at Radcliffe. That's $6 million. If $1 million of it has to be used for the roof, then that's what we should do. We shouldn't put that on our residents when we've been telling them over and over again that we're not.
Clarify that. If you don't mind, I'd like to clarify that a little bit. So the original grant, we were not expecting the full replacement of the roof and don't know if we have to yet. We're actually putting that out now and putting out the bid soon. The specs are being put together. We had originally about $500,000 in the grant just for touching up the roof. We've got guesstimates by some groups that have just kind of passed through, no final numbers yet, but it could be $1.5 million to $2 million. Now, that's a full renovation of the entire roof. May not need to be done, but that's a big hump out of a grant that wasn't expecting to spend that much money. So we just put that list in here just as a name only, a placeholder. It's not guaranteed that money's coming out of here, but it's the idea of, if we don't take it from there, then what do we do? It is still a city building at this point. So, but we experienced that roof issue only because that storm that also came through. Unusual storm, as we've discussed before. But the whole roof probably does not need to be replaced, but it might be. So we don't know yet what the numbers, but I hate to say, this is still recreation, it's still parks, it's still facilities, it's ice rink, it's everything. If there's a need to do the entire roof over and it's good for 30, 40 years, that's why it's kind of stuck in here, but it's not a set idea that says the money must come from here to fix the roof. So just
I understand.
backstory, I know
Yeah,
that.
I understand completely, but we have that $6 million for Radcliffe. You just stated at the very beginning that we have to use that money there. So maybe something else needs to be a little bit less, and we cut back on something else. We have $6 million. Why would we ask our residents for money? Hey, we need $6 million plus this. $6 million should cover that building. It looks beautiful. The card room is awesome. The teen tech room's awesome. That whole building's going to be awesome, but I think our $6 million should be able to cover that roof. I do.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Dole.
Just to kind of tag along on what Councilmember Karafotis is saying, I feel the same way that we should vote yes on the bond proposal because it will go before our residents, and that's what I ran my campaign on, was listening to the residents. So I would want to give you guys the opportunity to vote on that. But I also agree that with that grant money, and I know that grant money can be moved around within Radcliffe, that we would take that and look at using it for the roof. And a lot of that being because we have said repeatedly that none of our tax money is going to be put into Radcliffe. The other thing I wanted to ask, though, is what are we using as the average tax value to determine that $99?
You have the number? The percentage? Taxable value at 52, which is the average household. So remember, that's why I made a point. So when people look and say their house may be taxed at 104, 106,000, they may say I could sell it for 180 right now, but that's not what this tax is based on. It's based on the actual taxable value, not what you believe your house is valued at. So half the people actually are under that number, half would be over that number.
I understand.
Correct? Finance?
And when does this proposal have to be turned into the state to make the August deadline?
So to make it onto the August ballot, it has to get state approval by the end of April, with final notification given to the county clerk by, I believe, May 14th is when the county would have to have it received from us to get it onto the ballot proofs for August.
So what's the deadline for us turning it in for state approval?
So to turn in for state approval and for time for them to review it, it would either have to be done at this meeting or the first one in April. And even then, the first one in April's cutting it close because the state could send it back and be like, oh, you know, tweak it a little bit. And so, but I would say, you know, first meeting in April would be the drop dead last meeting we could do anything with it for August.
Okay, that was my next question. And it doesn't have to go on the August ballot, though. It can go on the November ballot?
It could be on a November ballot, so.
I love the idea. I love revamping the parks. I know they haven't been touched in a long time. We've looked at Kiwanis Park, and I know they were talking over $500,000 for us to do what we wanted to at Kiwanis. So it is going to cost some money, but I would like to see that Radcliffe roof line taken off, and then I have no problem with all of it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mayor.
Councilmember Witt.
Growing up, going through the parks, I played in the soccer club as well as a little bit of GCYA. I still have scratches and all that from the Schlag field. So I'm glad we're putting this to the residents to have the voice on it rather than just do something with it on council side. And even soccer club growing up, you know, the fields, granted, yes, taken care of by the soccer club and DPW cutting the grass and covering all of that. You know, our parks need a little bit of love. And in my short lifetime of 25 years now, you know, I can see that. So, you know, it'd be nice if we can get something going, especially the Moeller ball fields. They really need it. That's all.
Any other comments?
I have one more question.
Come.
We're so good at getting grants. You just showed all that stuff. We're so good at getting grants. You showed the stuff about the police station and the
Yes.
fire station and at Radcliffe. Have we attempted to get grants for any of the things that we listed?
Yes, we've been with our legislators, and actually, that's my project this evening. As soon as the meeting's over tomorrow, there's a grant due to the U.S. senators.
So those could still come through?
Absolutely, and at that point, we can make a change. Either if it comes through later, you can always reduce the number of years. You can stop it if it's only a partial that we're able to receive. But I'll be working all night on this presentation for tomorrow for the Senate to consider it, the U.S. Senate.
Mayor, can we see what the rest of council thinks about removing the part about Radcliffe?
Well, I don't, that's just I'll say this, it's a recommendation, but I believe if the residents approve this bond, it'll probably be worked on with the Parks and Recreation Commission along with council to do what we want to do. I don't think the Radcliffe's a drop-dead thing that's in there. As city manager said also, we are still working on getting other monies for different things, including the parks. So we may still have more money coming in that we can move around and do other things with. So without it being set as far as the Radcliffe, anything for Radcliffe being set in stone, as is anything else that he presented, nothing's set in stone.
Okay.
Any other comments from the table? All right, from the public, I have Ms. McConnell from the Parks and Rec Commission. You have 3 minutes to discuss this.
Good evening. My name is Jen McConnell. I'm a parent, lifetime resident, and one of our park commissioners. It's time to revitalize our parks community and way of life. I've served on the Park Commission for several years now, and every year we discuss many items that you guys have seen before you. A lot of those items actually are in our 5-year plan. I know that wasn't discussed, but those are some of the things that we talk about as a Park Commission. Year after year, we discuss to meet those improvements. Just last week, we began our first project at the Garden City Park. Very exciting, new play structure. I'm sure some of our residents may not know that those play structures are very expensive. Garden City Park is just one of the parks that's on our radar. As you all know, every park in Garden City is in need of an update. With this $9 million bond, we would be able to do so much more than a grant could offer. And as we've seen at the Garden City Park, part of that was part of a grant. I do understand the concern in rise in taxes. I also know that there will be residents who will be paying more than $99 a year. There could be residents paying $120 to $150 a year. If you think about it, it's what, $10 to $20, $10 to $12 a month. And if you, in regards to what you would pay on a monthly basis for $10, $12, it's a meal for yourself or your kid. The enjoyment of families, kids, and seniors in youth sports will be able to benefit from this if it's passed. I myself think of the effects that this would have on my own residents. One of the ways that I've found to decrease my taxes is to shop around for insurance. If I can get my insurance lowered, that'll offset the increase in the taxes, because I have an escrow payment. Not everyone does have escrow with their mortgage, but for those that do, that could help with offset the costs. For other demographics in the city, I know Stacy is with the Senior Alliance. Seniors don't realize that there are programs I'm sure she could help with to avoid paying higher costs for internet or food services, things, little tiny things that could add up that they could use to offset their costs. The kids in the community with Kim, with Kiwanis. Many people don't realize that Kiwanis can help those families, and I know you do a great job with it every year. And then with Mark being with, with veterans, there's so many programs that the veterans can offer to lower their mortgage payments.
15 seconds.
Most importantly, I ask our residents to be the change they want to see in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Loveland on Barton Street. I've been there for 45 years. I'm about 3-4 blocks away from Florence Park. For more than half of your life, I've been asking for help on Florence Park. So I'm all for park improvement. I'm not for higher taxation. I'm not for including the roof on Radcliffe. You have $6.1 million there. I'll probably never see Florence Park improved, never. And I cleaned it up myself. I organized the figure skating club to come and clean it up. We had the whole street lined up with brush and everything. Now it's full of litter, it's overgrown. Nothing ever changes. I'm not sure that with the grant or this millage that it would change then too. There were several things done on the road bond that we weren't anticipating. So I don't trust what is said. I absolutely do not trust what is said, because what happens is different than what is said. So people need to consider what it's going to cost them. If you take your taxable value of your home and multiply it times 0.0018659, you will get the cost for the first year of the park bond, just the first year. So if you just bought a house for $220,000 and your taxable value is somewhere around $110,000, you're going to pay close to $205 just the first year. So our new families that have moved into the city recently in the last few years are going to pay a lot more, because I looked everybody's up. They're going to pay a lot more than many of you. They're going to pay a lot more than me. I've been here 45 years. So I'm against higher taxation right now. Our city is taxed to death. It just is. There are grants at the budget meeting. Mike Downey said they were going to look for grants for the locker rooms. You got $6.1 million for Radcliffe. And by the way, tax money, grants, it's our money. It just goes out to the feds and the state and the county, and then it comes back if we're lucky enough to get it back. It's all our money. It's all our money. So you weren't going to take out of the Garden City budget for Radcliffe. And again, I don't believe you, because here you are asking the residents to pay for the roof at Radcliffe. No, you need to downsize something at Radcliffe. So I'm all for parks improvements. I'm not for these little side gigs that are in here. And I think you could have presented that professionally without the little innuendos to everybody.
Thank you. No, there's no clapping. Anyone else wishing to speak, please? Come on up.
Okay, I can't say it as good as she did, but we all feel that way. You know, I don't mind fixing the parks up, but if you're going to add Radcliffe to it after you've been telling us all along it wasn't going to cost us taxpayers anything, we've been misinformed and we've been lied to. And not everybody in this room owns a home. Who's going to fill those taxes? Who's going to fill the bonds? We have the library millage, the road bond, now this one. I'm on a fixed income. I heard the young lady say about all these programs. That don't matter. I still have so much money to deal with every day. I can't afford another bond tax on my taxes. It's not fair. It's not. We don't have to have everything done in one day. You said there's still room. Find out what other grants you can get. You're the master of getting all these grants. Get some more. That's not fair to us, Mark. It's not. We're being taxed to death. We pay more taxes than Grosse Pointe Park, and we're not even half as good as they are. I don't understand it. I don't know why this is happening. You know, and then he's going to get a review tonight, and all the things he presented, he's going to get a nice hefty raise, and then we're stuck with the bill. That's not fair to us. It's not fair. I hope this doesn't go through. There are other ways to get money. The man at the budget meeting for Park and Rec said he wasn't asking the city for any money. He was going after grants. So let's find them grants.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, Lauren Anthony, Sheridan Street. I've been living in Garden City my entire life. I have utilized the heck out of all those parks. I agree with what everybody else has said about how a lot of those parks need a lot of love. The Moeller Field especially, I walked through it to get to the St. Ray Field Festival this past year, and oh my God, I hadn't been there in a while. It really needs work. I do not have any kind of problem with taking money to fix up the parks. I don't even really have a problem with the idea of having more taxes to do that. Certainly don't have a problem. I think it's a great idea to kick it to the citizens, because that's what everybody's been saying for years and years. They've been saying, this decision was made without us, that decision was made without us. Well, now we get to make this decision, that's fine. I just want to bring up two concerns that I have that I just want to know if I can get any kind of address on them. The first one is going into what would be done. There was a lot more detail given to the baseball parks and the sports recreation type stuff that would happen, specifically in Moeller Field and a lot with Garden City as well. I just want to make sure that this isn't going to become a project where we get so bogged down in that things like Florence Park and Kiwanis Park aren't able to get hit as well. It sounds like everything's going to kind of try to get hit at the same time. I'm not entirely sure, but I just wanted to raise that's one of my concerns. Another concern that I'm potentially having is I want to make sure that this is one of those, this is in addition to the Parks and Rec budget that we are already going to be having. This isn't going to be kind of like a tax and shift, because I feel like in the past we've passed like millages for police, and then suddenly the police budget gets cut a little bit because, oh, well, we have that millage, and it's like I don't have a problem with it being an additional fund to make things even better. I just don't want it to be, here's a millage, we can use that in place of our budget, and now the budget goes down. So those were just the two concerns I wanted to raise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's not a question and answer, but I will say at this time, the budget's not even a consideration of being affected. That's a completely separate item that the Parks and Rec will bring to us. And again, nothing is set in stone as far as what is going to be done. It seems like everybody's stuck on the Radcliffe word or roof, that wording. Again, if it passes and it's up to the people if they want to pass it, the Parks and Rec will take that up, and they will probably be the ones to ultimately bring to council what they want to do, what projects they want to bring, and it'll go from there. So I don't want everybody to be caught on Radcliffe's going to be affected. Any other comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if this passes, any project will come before council for council approval? Is that what you just stated?
It'll go, Parks and Rec will probably come up with projects, and then typically they,
Yeah, this is not being let out at City Hall. Speaking of the Recreation Commission, this really should be their ballywick to come up with the final plans, bring it to the council, and have everybody agree, because that's what people are technically voting for. They're voting for this number, but we've had to, and we had some preliminary ideas. The reason we didn't spend a lot of money on all the parks, come up with plans, because we don't know if it's going to pass tonight, let alone pass in summertime. So that's why not all the parks are designed. Muller was just one we've looked at for some time. But yes, without a doubt, the council should be involved, the Recreation Commission. This is not one that we're just going to pick and choose from staff, because people have to vote for it. So we have
Well,
to
that's
have,
what I'm asking. So since the Radcliffe roof has become an issue tonight, because it is listed on this, and I know the costs are not
yeah.
set in stone, but it is on there for $750,000. So in that case, Parks and Rec would come to council, and they would ask us to approve that for the roof. I just want a clear-cut yes.
I would believe so,
That's exactly
but-
what would happen.
Yes, if we can mention about the roof itself, I guess we got to square this circle. The intention was not to replace the entire roof until we had that storm where obviously the roof became a swimming pool. So if the commission's or council's intention is not to do anything with Radcliffe or with the roof, now we have the millions, but we're also building a very large building that's supposed to go with the gymnasium, and that's not a small cost whatsoever. So when we hear 6 million, it sounds like we've got 5 extra million to do something with. There is a huge cost to what we're building over there. These rooms are nothing compared to the actual expansion of the facility itself. So I think I'd hesitate for anybody to just directly say, our recreation center that the city only has one, we should not be investing into this at all, and make sure we don't do anything with that roof, because if that roof needs to be replaced at $2 million, we may have to dig into our regular taxes to pay for that $2 million, where here we are doing a parks project to cover our facilities and our parks. So I'm hesitant to just say, let's make it mandatory that nothing should go into Radcliffe from this parks bond. I'm not quite sure how that squares the circle too much. So I get the idea, let's use that money that we are, and there is money, as I said, $500,000. If it's $1.5 million to $2 million, that was not expected in the grant to go from 500 to 2 million. So if there's an opportunity to supplement that difference, this is a possible way, but we would know that in the spring, as you mentioned, when we have the numbers of what the roof's going to cost, and we'll figure that all out. But I don't believe that we should just automatically say it absolutely can't be part of it. It's our recreation center. If it needs a brand-new roof, we have to do something to replace the brand-new roof. So,
But that's not what we've been telling our residents since we purchased
at this point, I could tell you right now, until we knew about the roof, we were going to touch the roof a little bit here and there. That's the $500,000. But until we had the ice storm that the water sat up there, it decided to find other holes. The question is, do we replace the whole roof? Which we're going to find out in the next couple of months as we go through the bid process. But again, we didn't anticipate a grant for $2 million for an entirely brand-new roof. But at this point, I'm saying no money has been put in. So part of my presentation this evening was the point of, we're asking for a parks bond. People immediately say, well, look at all the money you've already spent from our taxes on all these other projects. I was trying to clarify, we have not spent tax money on these projects, so that this is like a road bond. It's a separate piece that we can do a little bit in the parks, or we can try to do everything. We could do 1 road at a time, or we could try to do 10 roads at a time. That's kind of what we're looking at. And the presentation tonight was just to show, again, that there is not tax money going into all these projects. I'm not saying it will never, ever, ever go into Radcliffe, because we're running operations out of that place. That's where our department is based out of. So obviously, there's money going into it. We're talking about the reconstruction of Radcliffe.
Mayor, I just have one more question. If the residents vote yes for it, and we gladly get all these new things, our locker rooms and new fields and all that, what's the timeline for it?
It would start by spring of '25.
So next
Full
year.
construction, probably, well, we'd have to work with the leagues to make sure that they can hold off a season. Maybe it's even in the wintertime, depending on,
Some of the smaller parks, that kind of thing.
oh, they would go right away. There you'd bid out all the playgrounds at one time, all the fencing at one time, so you'd get the cost of scale. So it won't be where just one park is done and then we'll get back to it later. It's all kind of being done at the same time, but the parks, we'd have to just make sure ball field, whether it's a winter season or a fall season, that they can't play ball, because once the fences are gone and we're turning wheels, turning fields, it's out of commission for a period of time. But I think we'll move faster than some other in the community
Okay,
for
thanks.
our ball fields.
And if grant money comes in, et cetera,
Yep.
everything can be changed.
We
with
can
this
knock
bond.
it out. We can cancel the whole thing at that point. It's up to the city. But even if this passes and money comes in the next day, we don't have to actually charge a residence and move forward with it. So as that grant money comes in, we could make a drastic change if it comes in, but
We will continue to
no,
seek grant money.
that's tonight's job, yes, all night.
Okay.
We have some coming, we're attempting to get some from the federal government. So hopefully that'll,
Oh, I know that, yeah, the window opened for projects about a couple weeks ago, didn't it?
ends tomorrow. We have till tomorrow to get our projects that we want put out there. So, as city manager said, he's getting that together tonight, so we shall see. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 2 is our drinking water asset management grant. And for that, I'll call Mr. Alan Cruz from Hennessy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Alan Cruz. I'm from Hennessy Engineers. I'm the consulting engineer for Garden City. Garden City was awarded a $509,000 grant for drinking water, which is a public water system, and that money is used for developing an asset management inventory of your entire water system. The second part of that is what's called a DSMI, Distribution Systems Materials Inventory, that essentially searches for lead water services for replacement. So the grant money was available. We went after it and was awarded $509,000. In order to get reimbursements for services that we provide to prepare the asset management, we have to have a council resolution and approval to get the reimbursements. So the DSMI project was previously approved by council already and is underway. This is just the resolution that allows the city to get reimbursed for those services. And when we prepare these numbers, it's a not to exceed conservative amount so that Garden City doesn't ever have to end up paying more for those services.
Is there do we have to put any money into this, or is this going
No.
to be completely covered with the grant?
Completely covered, yeah. I think for the DSMI project, it came in close to budget, and I think the city was paying $1,000 more over the grant and that portion, but the rest of it is completely covered by the grant.
Mayor?
Councilmember
Just
Earl.
to clarify, so do we initially pay and then we're reimbursed from the grant? Is that
That's
how-
correct.
Okay.
Almost all grants are like that, and there's a rule that Eagle has, anything over $50,000 requires a council resolution. So, typically, we're under city contract services, but they want a resolution that's specific to this task.
Thank you.
Okay, motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve the authorization of use of $155,143 for asset management plan and grant administration to be conducted by Hennessy Engineers and $30,568 for DSMI construction management services to be conducted by Hennessy Engineers and the Bucilli Group for a total of $185,711, and to authorize the services be funded by grant reimbursements from the Eagle Drinking Water Assessment Management Grant.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Karafotis. Further discussion from the table. from public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 3 is budget meeting, council workshops, location and recording.
Mayor,
Councilmember Karofotis.
I'd like to make a motion that all our council meetings are held in chambers and videotaped like our regular meetings are.
Support.
Support by Mayor Pro Tem Dold. Discussion from table. From the public.
I hope you guys vote to have it here, because I found that to be a very informative meeting. The only thing is, the people that are sitting in the back, we couldn't hear half the people talking up front. And in this forum here, it's recorded, it's bigger, it's louder. I would appreciate very much if all of you voted to start having them here, so that we can be a more informed city of residents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, item 4 is to remove from table City Ethics Board ordinances and call for a public, or just take it from the table.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
a motion to remove from the table the City Ethics Board ordinance that was to call for a public hearing.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Earl. Okay, this is just to take it off the table. Comments from table?
Mayor.
Councilmember Karofotis.
We're doing this because we're going to have a workshop about it, correct?
We're just
That'll-
voting to take it off the table at this point.
This is
It's
just to
coming,
come off
okay.
the table right now. Public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Okay, now it's off the table. There's, somebody wants to make a motion to,
Mayor, a motion to schedule a council workshop for date to be determined. Mr. Smith?
Can we do the
Would that be
next
with
meeting,
you?
the
Next
8th?
meeting?
So, yes, so what we could do is, if you'd like, we could do, if the 8th works, we could actually do the workshop prior to the council meeting. So if we wanted to do, a time like a 4:30 or 5 o'clock for that. I don't know how long the workshop would run, so that way it would give us enough time to hold the workshop, and then we could roll into the council meeting at 7. That is an option.
Would the attorney be present? Do we need to check with him?
So we did check with the city attorney. He is available on that day.
Okay. What's better?
so it'd be April 8th at 4:30 for a workshop.
Is it?
And we have a council meeting at 7.
5:30, if we could.
5:30 might be cutting it close for a council meeting at 7.
I won't be available until about 5:30 with work.
So if we called 5 o'clock and he came rolling in at 5:30?
Well, he should be here, but
We could do 5 o'clock. I mean, as long as we give him enough time. I want all council members to be able to come in and speak to it, so,
I don't want to miss more than an hour of the meeting.
yeah. I would have no problem with 5:30.
Me either. I don't think it'll take that
I
long.
don't think it's going to take that long.
Well, even if we're still in the middle of something, when council starts, can we adjourn and pick it up again?
Absolutely.
I mean, I wouldn't think that we would be, but
we should
that
be
can
able
happen,
to,
correct?
but yes.
Okay. So
5:30,
am I making this 5 or 5:30?
5:30.
council?
5:30.
5:30. April 8th, 5:30, before the regular council meeting.
Support.
Okay, you supported, did, Councilmember Dole, did you make the motion?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't finish it, but it's out there, so. Just to discuss the
Okay.
proposed city ethics board ordinance.
Yep. So that was Mayor Pro Tem Dole with the motion, Councilmember Earl support. Further discussion from table. From the public. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. We have no other business. Public comment for non-agenda items only. Anyone wishing to speak? 3 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak? Mr. Jones.
And on behalf of the Garden City Kiwanis, I want to thank the community for their support as we prepared 10,000 meals for Kids Against Hunger on Saturday at the high school gymnasium, or library.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hattie Baydu and Arcola Street. I'm here to talk about the sidewalk walkable program that you guys have. This was back in 2021 when you guys came out with the 94.35 ordinance or law for a sidewalk replacement program, or just a sidewalk program to have residents replace sidewalks or add sidewalks to properties that don't have sidewalk. I own multiple properties throughout Garden City. Okay, I grew up in Garden City. This is where I want to reinvest my money into. Like I said, I have properties that I own, and what I do is I rent them out, okay? I renovate them and rent them out. I fix them up, make them look like a nice, pleasant home. A lot of them are older folks that just never took care of their homes, and I buy the house, renovate it, increase values for everybody, and rent the house out. Now, to piggyback on what some of the residents had stated, the taxes are becoming outrageous, okay? That's number one. But my main concern why I'm here is I had a reinspection on a property to renew my rental certification a few weeks ago. And I comply with every single item that they ask for. Now, one of the items they're asking for is for me to add a sidewalk on a property that doesn't have a sidewalk. Now, if I were to add that sidewalk, both my neighbors on my right and my left don't have sidewalks. So it defeats the purpose for me to add a sidewalk if the other neighbors don't have sidewalks. Who's gonna ride their bike down half a sidewalk and then, you know, take a tumble on the next neighbor's lawn? It doesn't make sense. Same as Middle Belt Road here. If this road was just paved up to this light and after that was just grass, you wouldn't drive on it. So what makes it okay for the inspectors to come tell me I need to add sidewalks to a property that doesn't have sidewalks? I also purchased that property before this law was into effect, okay? So I would like to ask for you guys as to what you can do to help me and what you can do to help someone like myself who's invested a lot of money already into this home, and now they're asking me to add sidewalks. I've gotten bids on it. Contractors are telling me anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 for sidewalks. I don't have that kind of money. What do I do? Is it ethical for an inspector to come tell me that I need to add a sidewalk after I've already met all the other items that they wanted me to repair or replace or whatever it may be? So I'm asking you guys, how can you help me? Because I can't afford the sidewalks. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna pay, you know, $8,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 for a sidewalk, especially when both my neighbors on each side don't have sidewalk. What's the purpose of me adding a sidewalk? I will add that sidewalk gladly and I'll get a loan for it if you guys also make my neighbor have connecting sidewalks. So how can you guys help me? That's my question for you guys. So I'd like for somebody to assist me with that.
Well,
That's time.
Yep. Well, it's not a question and answer, so we'll get you an answer. If you fill out a form with name and phone number and address.
Thank you. I will do so. Thanks.
Anybody else?
I would just like to add something to his conversation, because there was a house on Facebook advertised for sale, and I could tell it was in the area where there's no sidewalk. So I sent a message to the realtor on the ad and said, does this house have a sidewalk? Anyhow, long story short, he didn't know anything about it. And he said, how much do the residents have to pay? I said, all of it. He said, in Livonia they did this, but the city went to the residents and they asked the residents if they were interested in having sidewalk on their property. And if they were, then they worked with the resident and did a cost sharing on the sidewalks. So I really think that needs to be revisited was done during a COVID Zoom meeting. Another time, you just kind of pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. So it's been very divisive in the community, and we're never going to have totally walkable. And nobody enforces the sidewalk that's blocked now. So we're not proactive on having a walkable city with the sidewalk we already have. So I do think it needs to be revisited. It's obviously not doing anything to attract people to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, city manager's report.
Nothing else this evening, Mayor.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, so I got confirmation today, and we've been getting a lot of calls in the clerk's office, but I can officially announce the scheduled day for the Shred Day, which is coming up. So we're doing one again this year. Like I said, I mentioned the budget presentation. We'd like to maybe do two next year. But this year, it is going to be Saturday, September 14th, from 10 till 1 here in the City Hall parking lot. You'll enter off of Central, as is the normal. But in addition to the Shred Day, we will also have prescription drug disposal that day, as well as use it as a fundraiser for the home pantry. It's a big benefit to the home pantry. Last Shred Day we had, in addition to all the food, we raised almost $400 cash. So it's a really good fundraiser for them. The residents, love Shred Day. So we got the calls, so we got our things scheduled. September, we've got a lot of weekend events going on in Garden City. So we took one of the few available weekends left. So mark your calendars, Saturday, September 14th for Shred Day.
Perfect. They can come here before they go to St. Raphael's. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Just a couple quick things. I just wanted to reiterate about this whole Parks and Rec bond issue. I do believe that it's up to our residents to decide if they want this, if they can afford it. You vote it in. That's the way this should work. And I think with assurances that a lot of these things will come back to this council for vote before it goes, that's why I was able to vote for it to go ahead, because honestly, I had intended to vote against it because some things were included on it that I didn't think should be included. So I just wanted to explain that. I also think that maybe it's time that the city looks at either contracting with or looking to hire, truly look to hire a grant writer. There's so many grants out there, it's ridiculous. And if we're just looking at one, I mean, they're just, I know even through Kiwanis, we were looking for one for the park, and then we realized that we can't get a grant for Kiwanis Park because we don't own it. So, but anyways, I really would like us to see either to contract with someone to do some grant writing for us, a professional grant writer, or hire somebody. So that all being said, I want to piggyback on what Mr. Jones came up to the podium to say, and Kiwanis does truly thank all of our residents that turned out Saturday to help us. We actually packed over 10,000 meals, and so everybody knows we help children locally, but we also help children internationally. So some of that food is staying local, and some of it's also being shipped to the children in the Ukraine. And also, thank you to everyone who attended our pig race. It was a success. Choice Catering is the winning pig this year, so that is all I have. Thank you.
Do we know how much the pigs raised?
We don't, we've got a kind of a ballpark on our revenue, but the gross, we don't know how much we netted yet, so.
Okay.
But we did as well as last year, we do know that, so.
We had fun.
It was fun.
Councilmember Litch.
Yes. Tonight, just before I came to the council meeting, I heard the words Garden City on Channel 7. And so, of course, I had to stop, and fortunately, we have TiVo, so I could rewind and listen again. I found out that today, Michigan Student Broadcast Awards were given out in Lansing, Michigan. And a Michigan State sophomore and communication major from Garden City, Braden Willis, received the Scripps Howard Fund and Michigan Association of Broadcasters Scholarship. So I just wanted to announce that, and he's the only one from our area, from what I understand. And I wanted to congratulate him, and I'm sure his parents could possibly be listening because they live in Garden City as well. So congratulations to Braden. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Witt.
The only thing I have for tonight is I would like to look at the next council meeting, potentially figuring out a date for maybe another free garage sale weekend, or fee-free garage sale weekend for the residents.
I think we already have that.
Yep, we're already working on it. I believe it's June 12th, June 13th. But we'll take a look at it. We'll announce it next meeting. Thank you, Councilman.
Appreciate it.
That it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Squires.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
I just have a couple things. One, I want to know when we're setting up the meeting with the Planning Commission, the DDA, and the Building Department regarding the master plan.
Soon as Mr. Miller gets back in town and is ready to get going.
Okay, thanks. And then want to remind the public that we need volunteers for our boards and commissions, and you can get an application for that at City Hall, correct?
Yep. City clerk, go to the clerk's office.
And I'm looking forward to hearing about the results of our fire department audit. I know that's coming soon. Meals on Wheels is finally moving to Cambridge this Friday, so things are going to start to improve. All the Meals on Wheels people are getting free fish dinner this Friday, courtesy of the fish dinner delivery, and we have lots of volunteers helping, so that's great. We do a great job asking for bonds and millages, and a lot of it has to do with our parks and our city services. And I wanted to know if there's any, if we can focus more things on helping our seniors. It's the largest population in Garden City, and I wanted to know if we could just make that more of a priority in the future. You know, maybe more grants for seniors and stuff. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Earl.
Nothing tonight. Wait, I have one thing. Almost forgot. I don't want to get yelled at. Little Shop of Horrors, April 26th, 27th, and 28th at the high school. Almost got my daughter to yell at me when I got home. So just go to gctheater.com and you can get your tickets. They're selling out fast because there is only 3 shows this time. So it's the 26th, 27th, 28th. And it's going to be a fantastic production. Hopefully we'll sell it out. That's all.
I hope so. I'll be there. Thank you.
Mayor, we just got word, June 20th to 23rd, we're looking at the weekend for the garage sale. June 20th, 23rd.
Okay.
And that'll be in the Buzz, the next one also.
For the residents, June 20th to 23rd, that will be the free garage sale weekend. The only thing I have is Mayor Pro Tem Dole just handed me the Lions Club, which is a great organization, and they're looking for more volunteers. And they have at the Straight Farmhouse a meeting on May 19th at 3:30 p.m. And Straight Farmhouse is at 6331 Merriman Road. And if you could RSVP to Matt, who's a Lion, at mcollins782@gmail.com. That is mcollins782@gmail.com. If you can attend the May 19th Sunday meeting for the Lions Club to join and help serve. Now, that's all I have. Item 16 is going to closed session for the annual city manager evaluation as requested by Doc Doherty in accordance with the provisions of Act Number 267, PA of 1976, Open Meetings Act, Section 8A, to consider a periodic personal evaluation of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent if the named individual requests a closed hearing. So, okay, motion by Councilmember Witt. Support by Councilmember Squires. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Witt? Aye. Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch? Aye. Councilmember Earl?
Aye.
Councilmember Karafotis?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dold,
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned to go into closed session.